Step 8. Action with respect. Assertiveness without overstepping. Topic 1. Self-knowledge and personal boundaries. True respect begins within you. It's not enough to know what's right or wrong for the world. It's essential to recognize what deeply resonates as truth for your own life. Self-knowledge is the silent axis that sets apart the man who acts with dignity from one who simply reacts to circumstances. Why do so many get lost? Most conflicts, frustrations, and feelings of being violated come from a lack of clarity about one's own limits. When you don't understand what makes you feel good or what should never be tolerated, you easily adapt to someone else's script. You say yes when you mean no, swallow dissatisfaction, drift away from your essence, and worse, feed a cycle of silent resentment. A boundary isn't a wall, it's your territory. Imagine your integrity as a house. The boundary isn't there to isolate or push others away, but to define the safe space where you can be authentic. When this boundary is clear, your actions radiate confidence and ease. You don't feel guilty for saying no, you don't fear disappointing, and you don't need to compulsively adjust to others' desires. How does this connect to respectful action? Acting with respect requires first respecting yourself. Understand this. Every time you betray your values, you give others permission to do the same. Every time you ignore your inner warnings, you open space to be invaded, or be invasive yourself. Deepening questions. What behaviors from others do you accept just to avoid conflict, even though they make you uncomfortable inside? In which situations do you feel invaded, embarrassed, or frustrated after saying yes? What do you feel but usually keep silent about, for fear of displeasing others? Practice to retain and transform. Tonight, before you sleep, write down 3 boundaries you will never cross again in your relationships. Not even to please someone important. Read them again tomorrow morning. This isn't fixation. It's a commitment to your emotional health and maturity. Remember, the man who knows, respects, and defends his own limits is automatically recognized by everyone as someone with strong presence, reliability, and resistance to manipulation. Your self-respect is the silent magnet of your authority. Topic 2. Recognizing the other person's boundaries. True respect doesn't exist if you only see your own world. The art of coexistence and the most magnetic attraction demand sharp sensitivity. To notice with attention and humility where the emotional, physical, and even spiritual boundaries of the person beside you begin and end. Why is it so challenging to notice someone else's boundaries? We are programmed to prioritize our own desires and often confuse reciprocity with mirroring, assuming the other wants, feels, and tolerates the same limits as we do. This silent selfishness weakens bonds, wears down relationships through small acts, and sooner or later causes distance or conflict. Boundaries are subtle language. The greatest proof of relational maturity is seeing beyond the surface, recognizing that an averted glance, a tense body, or a sudden change in tone are clear signs of discomfort or areas not to be invaded. Respect happens before words, in perception and care. The details no one else notices. Only those who matter do. Awkward silence when there used to be dialogue. Short answers after long questions. Evasion in response to persistent invitations. Subtle physical withdrawal at touch or closeness. By picking up these signals, you communicate in practice. I see you beyond what you show. I respect what you don't say. How to make this your advantage? Instead of forcing conversations, closeness, or jokes, embrace the power of silent respect. Ask open-ended questions like, "Are you comfortable with this?" Or, "Do you want to talk about this now or later?" Show that you care about the other person's well-being before your own desire to please or win them over. Paradoxically, this creates more attraction. A bordered space makes any approach desired, not forced. Emotional trigger. A truly memorable man is not the one who invades, but the one remembered for knowing when to stop, hearing the unspoken limit. Respect generates mystery, desire, and trust that remains even when you're not around. Reflection. Exercise. Recall a time when your presence felt overwhelming, an invitation was declined, or a message went unanswered. What were the signals trying to communicate? How could you, today, turn that awareness into an act of respect? The man who recognizes another's boundaries without ego or contest becomes unforgettable. Topic 3. Assertive communication. The middle path. This is where many men get lost, confusing aggression with firmness, passivity with respect, silencing desires until they explode, or demanding space without listening to others. Assertive communication is the true middle path, direct yet respectful, clear yet sensitive. Why is assertiveness so powerful? Being assertive means expressing what you feel, need, and expect without overpowering others or abandoning yourself. Those who speak over others push them away. Those who swallow everything accumulate resentment and low self-esteem. Assertiveness builds transparent relationships where everyone feels seen and valued. The formula. Clarity. Empathy. Assertiveness isn't about lacking emotion. It's about channeling it consciously. Use first-person phrases. I need some time for myself right now. When this topic comes up, I feel uncomfortable. I prefer not to comment on this right now. Expressing yourself this way doesn't close doors. On the contrary, it opens dialogue for mutual respect. No one should have to guess what you feel or tolerate. Clarity breaks the cycle of hidden resentments, indirect messages, and silent frustrations. Show vulnerability too. When you honestly set boundaries, you say, I'm human, with needs and expectations. I trust you can listen without judgment. It's in this real space that deep relationships are born. You inspire reciprocity. The other feels free to show their own boundaries. Avoid the biggest mistake. Never justify your right to respect. Those who over-explain ask permission to exist. Be brief, direct, and calm. Demand only what you also offer. Emotional trigger to remember. When you are assertive, your presence conveys security and maturity. It brings peace, not tension. The desire to come closer, not distance. You become a reference for clarity and respect wherever you go. Practical exercise. Pick a situation from your day when you usually give in or stay silent to please others. Practice, in front of a mirror or by writing, how you would communicate your feelings or boundaries assertively, directly, but respectfully. This is the silent strength of men who impact without having to impose. Topic 4. When to advance, when to retreat. One of the greatest challenges for the modern man is understanding the subtle difference between perseverance and insistence, between making your presence felt and knowing when to step back. The true power lies in recognizing the exact moment when moving forward is connection, and when turning away is courage. Why are we afraid to retreat? Many associate stepping back with weakness or defeat, as if yielding ground means losing territory, and exiting the stage means becoming forgettable. But the man who retreats at the right moment shows self-control, emotional intelligence, and self-respect. He commands presence without pressure because he understands that his absence also communicates value. How to sense the timing. Advancing should feel natural, never forced. You sense genuine openness, curious glances, expansive responses, relaxed body language, interest in your presence. When you feel withdrawal, short replies, closed gestures, distraction, discomfort, that's a sign to slow down or pause. Knowing when to retreat is knowing how to give space for desire to grow. Magnetism is not being clingy nor absent, but unpredictable and respectful. Your withdrawal gives space for the other to feel longing, reflect, and even reconsider barriers. This makes you memorable, not disposable. Retention trigger. The man who masters his own timing earns respect and mystery. The other person knows, if I don't care for this space, I might lose it. This is the paradox of value. The less you force, the more those who want to stay reveal themselves. Exercise to internalize. Recall a time when you kept insisting after sensing the other's disinterest. What was your intuition telling you at that moment? And now, looking back, how would you have acted differently? Reflect and set your rule. Advance only when you feel true reciprocity. Retreat whenever the situation calls for it. Advancing and retreating are signs of strength, not submission. Those who know how to balance pursuit achieve far more than those who constantly impose themselves. Topic 5. How action without invasion amplifies respect. Often we underestimate the power of the silent respect that comes from the small actions we take every day. Acting without imposing, moving forward without suffocating, communicating without pressure. This is the essence of a stance that not only builds respect, but strengthens it on deep, almost invisible levels. Why is action without invasion so powerful? Because it respects the other person's autonomy and affirms your own security. A man who acts this way doesn't need to dominate or manipulate. He invites connection, offers trust, and creates space for the other to express themselves freely. This attitude generates attraction born from authenticity and understanding. Small gestures make a big difference. Listen attentively without interrupting or judging. Support decisions even when you don't fully agree. Avoid comments that might belittle or embarrass. Keep confidences with absolute respect. Respond kindly when you hear a no. Respect grows in safe environments. When someone feels they can be themselves without fear of being invaded, they open their heart naturally. That sense of safety is the fertile ground where trust and intimacy flourish. The paradox of quiet strength. The strength of those who have nothing to prove is the most admired. In the silence of respect, you create the perfect atmosphere for your presence to be welcomed, awaited, and valued. Emotional trigger. Imagine being remembered not for insistence or control, but for a light presence that respects and values you just as you are. That is the mark of a man who stands out without making noise. Practical task. Today, choose one relationship to practice this attitude. Notice your actions. Do they advance without suffocating? Do you respect the other's space? Write down what you observe and how it was received. Topic 6. Responding to disrespect. Reaffirm, don't impose. Being respectful doesn't mean being submissive or tolerating behavior that harms your value. True maturity lies in knowing how to respond to disrespect without resorting to empty confrontation or falling into the trap of silence that hurts from within. The difference between being respected and being walked over is exactly how you stand your ground when someone crosses your limits. Why do many men crumble in the face of disrespect? Some withdraw, fearing the loss of approval from the one disrespecting them. Others explode, reacting aggressively, instilling fear instead of earning true respect. Both lose. The first erases himself, and the second builds walls that isolate. Reacting maturely is an art. You defend your territory without invading the others, showing you have non-negotiable boundaries. And these are protected not with anger, but with firmness. How to reaffirm boundaries without aggression. Use statements of self-responsibility and clarity. I understand your point of view, but I don't accept that kind of treatment. I prefer not to continue this discussion in this tone. We can revisit it when we're both calmer. Keep your tone controlled and your posture open, without threats or sarcasm. Don't ask permission to take a stand. Don't negotiate what is central to your self-respect. If disrespect recurs, demonstrate clear consequences and follow through. Gradual distancing, ending cycles, or reassessing the relationship. Triggers for awareness. True respect only exists when habits match words. When was the last time you said enough without fighting? Have you ever forgiven someone without reestablishing boundaries and later felt used or diminished? Deeper tip: keep your composure and show that you truly believe in what you say. Persist in conversation only if you sense willingness to engage. Otherwise, accept stepping away and allow time. The distance signals that access to your space is earned, not given out of convenience. Practice that transforms. Next conflict: challenge yourself not to raise your voice or run. Breathe, hold eye contact, state your boundary, and if needed, end the interaction. I need some time for myself now. Notice how this attitude makes a bigger impact than any shout. The magnet of respect. Those who respond to disrespect this way not only grow stronger, but are seen as admirable and protected by their own integrity. Others understand. Crossing the line has consequences. Topic 7. Dynamic adaptation of boundaries. Healthy boundaries are not static. They evolve with your needs, experiences, and growth. A mature man understands that excessive rigidity creates distance, while conscious flexibility strengthens bonds and sharpens his self-awareness and understanding of others. Why is adapting boundaries a sign of strength? Changing a boundary is not inconsistency, but an acknowledgement of personal evolution. As you mature, situations once unbearable may become insignificant, or conversely, something once indifferent may become crucial for your emotional well-being. When is it time to reevaluate your boundaries? When a new relationship challenges old comfort patterns and pushes you out of your safety zone. After transformative experiences, a new job, routine changes, social circle shifts, therapy, or travel. When you realize an old boundary was linked to insecurities or past traumas you've overcome. When you notice a flexible boundary is being exploited by others to manipulate or wear you down. How to adapt boundaries without sacrificing self-respect. Always reflect on why each boundary exists. What exactly is it protecting? Talk openly about changes in your stance. Don't change quietly, expecting others to guess. I've realized I can handle this better now, but I still need space in another area. Be alert to feelings of resentment or exhaustion, signs that a boundary is being ignored or crossed without your consent. Periodically evaluate your relationships. Are they respecting the different versions of your current self? Emotional trigger. The great strength of a man with integrity is not in being rigid, but in knowing when to stand firm and when to be flexible without betraying himself. Every time you review your boundaries, you expand your comfort zone, deepen emotional maturity, and show those around you that respect is alive and grows with you. Real practice. Today, choose one boundary you set out of fear, insecurity, or outside influence and reflect. Does it still make sense? And one boundary that's too loose, existing only to please? What would change if you updated these borders to match who you are now? Subtle attraction. Those who consciously adapt boundaries, communicate about their changes, and assert themselves without arrogance become impossible to manipulate, and at the same time, flexible. This rare combination is magnetic. Topic 8. Strengthening the relationship through respect. Respect is not just the absence of disrespect, it's an active daily practice, the invisible ground where admiration, desire, and trust grow naturally, nourished by the small details of everyday life. Many think respect is basic, a given by default, but it's built and strengthened with every micro-choice. How to strengthen bonds through practical respect. Validate the other's feelings without judgment. When someone opens up about insecurities, fears, or achievements, listen genuinely. Respond with phrases like, "I understand why you feel that way," or "Thank you for trusting me enough to share this." Show explicit recognition. Praise acts of courage. Thank small gestures. Specific recognition sets you apart and creates positive reinforcement. I admire how you handle your challenges has far more impact than "nice job." Offer real support, not control. Allow the other to ask for help rather than imposing your solution. Do you want me just to listen, or would you prefer advice? This subtlety creates closeness without suffocating. Keep your word and be consistent in your values. When your words and actions align, respect naturally settles in. The other relaxes knowing you won't change your stance with every passing moment. Don't use the other's vulnerabilities as ammunition in arguments. Respect grows stronger when you protect what was confided to you, even in moments of disagreement. Provide space for individual growth, respect decisions, projects, and even moments of silence. Show genuine interest in the other's path without wanting to control or compete. Emotional trigger. When a relationship's foundation is respect, a sweet freedom is born. Both feel they can be authentic, make mistakes, restart, and grow side by side. You don't need to be in control to keep someone close. You just need to ensure the feeling of being respected never fades. Retention exercise. At the end of your day, recall a moment in a relationship, romantic, family, or professional, when you felt respect in a meaningful way. Note how it made you feel. Now do the same. Identify a moment when you showed that respect to someone else. What changed in the relationship? Whoever plants respect in every interaction harvests lasting relationships, enduring passions, and connections beyond the surface. Want to master the art of respectful action and build genuine relationships? Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next steps of the modern man's ladder. Share in the comments your biggest insight about acting with respect and boundaries. Your experience can help other men on this journey.